Dhaoibh chairde is Misha Cuiva, and how lucky are we to celebrate St. Patrick's Day? For anybody that's like watching, you're gonna see that I'm in full glam, and I need to do my lips and I need to take my hair out. We're just gonna roll with it because I am going out afterwards. It's 11:20 in the morning and I'm already in full glam, and I'm genuinely questioning my outfit because I have this like full day of plans of like going to pubs, watching the last rugby match of the Six Nations, of like drinking and stuff, and I'm currently wearing, first of all, an Irish jersey because obviously I have a like makeshift green eyeliner done on my eyes. It looks pretty crap, but we're just gonna roll with it. And I'm also wearing a black mini skirt and big black knee-high boots. Okay, just like picture that in your head, bearing in mind that it's March now. The sun is out, but it is still kind of cloudy, and I can hear that there's like wind. Like, it doesn't feel appropriate to be dressing like a HOE on a day like today. But I'm kind of thinking, extenuating circumstances, I'm celebrating St. Patrick's Day. Now, I am celebrating St. Patrick's Day 2 days early, and that's because this year St. Patrick's Day falls on a Monday. Boo. Okay, boo. And the only reason I'm booing that is because in the UK we don't get a bank holiday for it. Whoa, that was a culture shock to me. Like, absolutely not okay. We were repressed for 800 years and they can't even give us the bank holiday for our national patron saint of Ireland. How dare they? I kid, of course, but it is a bit of a sore point for me, seeing as we get like half the bank holidays in the UK that I'm used to back home, but I do get more holiday days. I just don't really take them. Anyways, that's like a me problem. But seeing as I'm all patriotic and everything, I thought it'd be really fun to like talk about Ireland and me being an Irish person and speaking the language. Oh my god, I'm realising my tan is so dark. No guys, I was actually giving out the other day about like how when I looked at like photos of myself when I was younger and I looked like a different race, and I fear that I've just done that again. So I must only apologise. Like, why am I putting on tan as if I'm 16 again? Like, this is not okay. But, you know, I don't do it often. Like, I don't do tan like this very often. So we live, we love, we just go with it. Okay? And nobody just is going to say a word. Also, I'm loving my makeup today. Like, I don't know how I do it, but every time I've got a big event, I always pull my makeup out of the bag. Or at least lately I have. I know exactly how I do it, but it takes time. And then I do makeup for work in a rush and it never turns out as nice. I digress. Like, that's so boring. But okay, side note, do you know what's really funny is that there's this guy that I work with in my new job, and not to expose him or anything, but he is of Irish descent. He's American of Irish descent. His name is Patrick. He was born on St. Patrick's Day. I was like, the irony is not lost on me. Like, that is quite hilarious. Also, I feel really sorry for you. But anyways, I think I suppose if I had a kid on St. Patrick's Day, would it be right to call them Patrick? Like, I feel like it's either like you have to lean into it or just pretend that it's not there, you know? But anyways, Ireland, being Irish, I love it. Where do I even begin? Okay, let me start with this one thing. So one of my plans today is that I'm gonna go on like a little side quest, and I'm gonna go to the Devonshire in London, which is like, it's like this pub in central London that's like known for doing like the best pint of Guinness around. And I've been once, and I'm not gonna lie, the Guinness was pretty good. Not me, I'm not the hugest Guinness drinker, but when it comes to, you know, a rugby match or St. Patrick's Day, I am gonna be splitting that G, you know. So one of my side quests is to go to the Devonshire today to have a pint of Guinness, but for a very specific reason, and that reason is because Ryan Tuberty is going to be recording his radio show from the Devonshire on Monday for St. Patrick's Day, and they were like, if you want to give somebody a shout out, send in a postcard or a card or a letter or something to the Devonshire with who you want to give a shout out to. And I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. So I've got a little card that I'm going to write, and I'm going to hand deliver it to the Devonshire, and on the way I'm going to go to Buns from Home because I have a voucher from there from Christmas, and they've got like a Guinness chocolate cake special on this weekend. I said, fantastic, that's going to be my breakfast. So I'm going to sit in the Devonshire with my pint of Guinness and my Guinness cake bun, and it's going to be great. And then when I'm finished that's when I go to the pub in Clapham where I've got a table booked, and we're going to watch the match for the Six Nations. So anyway, so we've got a whole day planned. But I just love things like that. Like I love the fact that this is just such a fun day of like being able to celebrate being Irish. But it's funny, like when I talk about celebrating St. Patrick's Day and everything, I actually met a colleague of mine who's from America a couple of weeks ago, and she was visiting London, and we were talking about St. Patrick's Day, and she was like, oh, we were actually thinking of like going like the week after and spending St. Patrick's Day in Dublin, and that we'd seen all of these like reviews online, and it was like, no, don't do it, or it's really bad, or da 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 da. And I was like, you know what, so this is the thing, everybody always thinks of going to Dublin for Paddy's Day, which I totally understand, but let me just like explain Paddy's Day in Dublin, okay? So as a local, as somebody who's born and bred Dublin, or even just an Irish person in general, we avoid Dublin city centre on St. Patrick's Day by all costs. Like genuinely avoid it like the plague. And it is a really big tradition on St. Patrick's Day that there are parades. And the Dublin parade is like brilliant, but like we'll watch it on the TV, because also it's like really not that fun to experience in person, because town, like the city centre, is just plowed, like just jammers with people. Like there's this beautiful saying in Irish that is Dovladini, which means black with people, as in like, you know, when the crowd is just so big that like all you see is like darkness. Like that is genuinely what it feels like. And it's ridiculous. I did it a couple of times, and I said absolutely never again, because there are people that will queue up at the barriers from God knows what time, like something crazy like 6 a.m. or something, where just to get like a good spot so they can see the parade. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. And the other side of it is that it is just full of tourists, and it's full of tourists, and they're, you know, trying to embrace spring Irish, but they're embracing all of the stereotypes like leprechauns and pots of gold and top of the morning to you and kiss me I'm Irish, and genuinely every single stereotype that us Irish people hate. And I really need to say that, okay? I had to send a message in work recently where I was like, just want to put it out there, any messaging around St. Patrick's Day, can we please avoid anything that references leprechauns, pots of gold, anything that's like Lucky Charms-esque, because it just, that all of those stereotypes like embody everything that Ireland is not about. Like I don't actually even know where this leprechaun pot of gold thing came from. Like I know that there's like the look of the Irish and everything, and maybe it is that we're lucky, but I think actually it's because part of our culture is that we're just chancers, and I think that comes from the fact that like we're this tiny nation, tiny, right? And we've had to endure so much over the years in terms of people trying to take over us, our culture being completely scrishta, like completely taken away, our language is dying, and all of this, and also like the severe economic decline of our country, which has led to so many people emigrating, and this has been happening for hundreds of years. So it's like when all of that happens, well, what else are you gonna do than just chance your arm and just give it a go and see what happens? And it just so happens we pull it off, and it's great, and it's just like, well, sure, why not? Like genuinely, why not? Like why wouldn't I do that? And I think it's so visible in so many parts of our culture and our history, you know, that we've got so many like there's been so many incredible people in not only like our myths, which I don't think our myths and legends are talked about enough. Like let's talk about the myths and legends for a second, because these were all stories that like I grew up on that like anybody outside of Ireland just doesn't really know about, and it's like incredible. I'm like, if you're going to talk about, you know, leprechauns and pots of gold and things that are whimsical about Ireland, let's talk about our myths and legends. Let's talk about Fionnmachúil, and let's talk about like literally anybody else, like Cuchulainn, and quite literally like Maeve, the queen of the, what was it, pirates? I can't remember, but like Tír na nÓg, oh my god, prime example, Tír na nÓg. What a beautiful story. I urge all of you, anybody that doesn't know these stories, I urge you to look them up, because they're all like interconnected, and it's all about like Celtic Ireland. Tír na nÓg, for example, let's talk about that for a second. Tír na nÓg is this beautiful story, and people are going to kill me because I actually can't remember the details, like the nitty gritty of the details right now, but I'm going to give you a really good overview from the song that I remember learning from the Gaeltacht. But basically there is I want to call it, was it Fionnmachúil or his son, anyways, big hunting family, na Fianna, I think, and they were kind of like the warriors of the land, okay, and they were the protectors, they were kind of like the local celebrities a little bit, and they ruled the land a little bit, but it was very much on like a, we're protecting, we're conserving, you know, all of that, and protecting was just like such a huge thing for us, especially against like foreigners, sorry. And then Niamh Kinor comes along, and Niamh Kinor is like the princess of this magical land, and she says, and she sees Fionnmachúil, Oisín. So she sees Oisín, and she looks at him and she says, oh my god, this man is the most gorgeous thing I've ever seen in my life. And she comes down to him, and she's on this beautiful horse, and she's like, come back to Tír na nÓg with me. And he's like, what's Tír na nÓg? And she's like, it's the land that I'm from, and everything is beautiful, and you live forever, and all of this. And he's like, well, Niamh, you're the most beautiful bear I've ever seen in my life. I don't know if anybody sees that guy on TikTok when he's like, where's all the bears? Where's all the bears? All the decent bears? Anyways, so he goes, well, Niamh, you're some decent bear. So he goes back, he gets on her horse, and they go back to Tír na nÓg, where she's like the princess of the land. So her mum and dad like rule the land, and it's like everything is just wonderful, everybody's happy, and it's beautiful, and nothing is ever difficult, and they all live forever. And it gets to a point where Oisín is there, and he's getting really homesick because he can't see his own family, he can't go back to Ireland, and he begs and begs and begs, and he said, please let me go home, and see them. I need to see my family, like I need to reconnect, I want to see what it's like now. And she says, no, you can't. And he begs and he begs and he begs, and she says, okay, you can go, but you must stay on the horse, and you cannot touch a piece of the earth. And this is very important. She says you cannot touch a piece of the earth. And he said, no problem. So he goes back to Ireland on the horse, and he realizes that hundreds and hundreds of years have passed, and his family is no more, and they themselves are myths and legends of, you know, for the people that live there now, and everything is different. And he's getting so sad and depressed. And he says, oh my god, I can't believe that I've missed out on all of this, and so much time has passed. And so he's walking along on the horse, and he sees a group of men struggling with a boulder that they're trying to push along, and you can see that they're really struggling, and they're nearly collapsing under the weight of this thing. And without thinking, he gets off his horse, and he grabs hold of the boulder, and he helps them up. And as soon as he does, it's as if the veil wears off, and his age catches up to him, and he's suddenly this poor old little decrepit man, and he dies on the land. And that's the end of the story. And it's such a beautiful story. And like when I was younger, you know, it's that typical thing of like you learn these stories when you're younger and you're like, oh, ha ha ha, like whatever. And I suppose, like, you know, maybe this is like just something that, oh no, and maybe this is like, as I was like telling the story, I was like, huh, and maybe it's like a thing of like, well, as somebody who has emigrated, I'm like, oh, it makes me like, it just like reminds me, I'm like, it's so important to keep up with everybody back home. Like when you're gone, like don't ever forget where you came from. And like it's so easy to become homesick and sad and all of this sort of stuff. And such a beautiful story. But anyways, I urge you all to look them up. They're so good. There's one about the children of Lear, another beautiful story, and they turn into swans. It's very sad. A lot of these stories are like very sad, but it's like they all just have like really good messages behind them. So I'm like, yeah, if we're going to be talking about I think there's just so much magic in Ireland that like is just so completely lost. And I just get such incredible pride when I speak the language. Like, so I went to a Gael school, so I went to an Irish school, and when from the ages of 12 to 18, so I went to an English speaking primary school and then an Irish speaking secondary school. And that was for me, it was a very difficult transition, because as somebody who had never spoken Irish fluently before in my life, it was a change. And I did find it really, really difficult. And I did all of my state exams in Irish as well, which was, you know, an interesting experience. And it's funny because like when we were in school, we were like very rebellious, like teenagers are, that we were like, no, we're not going to speak. Like, you know, you'd get in trouble if you were caught speaking English, you'd get detention. And yet at every opportunity that we could, we were there speaking in English, like behind the teacher's back, and like not good. Like it's just so funny. But now that we've left school, and we did have such a pride for being able to speak the language as well, because not many people do. Like there is this unfortunate thing in Ireland where people actually hate the language because it's been taught really badly, and also it's been kind of like ingrained in our culture that people do not like the language because they hate learning it, and it's something that trickles down like generations to generations. But ever since leaving school, it's almost like we've had a switch where we're like, no, we want to be able to speak the language like as much as we possibly can. I know myself that like I have lost quite a bit of my language, but recently I found this group in London that's like, you go and you practice your Irish and everything, and like, not to toot my own horn, but like I am somebody there that is able to hold a conversation, speak decently fluently, which is like, and most other people can't. But the fact that I'm able to just kind of like start rapping off in Irish again is just so enjoyable for me. Like I can't actually express it enough that I get really excited about being able to speak the language again, and to have a conversation with people about it. And I've actually been seeing clips on TikTok of that podcast Gaelgory, and I really want to, I need to start like actually listening to it, because I love the fact that they just pepper in like cúpla focal here and there, like a few words here and there, like just because they can, and it's so natural to them. And I'm like, that is how I want to start speaking again, be it to, you know, my sister, my family, my friends, whoever, and for it to just become natural. And I actually recently have found it that if I'm trying to explain, like if I'm trying to like really explain something, like when I was saying like, oh, and like town is like plodaha. Like plodaha is a word that I love, right? And it just embodies exactly what I mean by that. It's absolutely like town is just jam-packed. It's jammers, it's brickers, it's whatever you want to call it. And it's just like plodaha is just such a beautiful word that it just completely embodies it for me. And there's like no other way. I'd like stuvladini, or, you know, there's one that I like say to my mum, but I've been saying it in English, where I'm like, that, you know, the sun is like splitting the rocks, like on green, squelching the clucka, like you can just imagine it. You can imagine a rock in the sun, and it just snaps apart. the sun is just splitting the rocks. Like, it's just so beautiful. Like, we just have so much beautiful little things in Irish that I just am obsessed with. I love, like, I think I have such an appreciation for like hearing an Irish accent these days as well, that I'm just so, like, every time I hear one I'm like, oh my god, this is exciting, there's an Irish person, I can like relate to them, like, that's so exciting. I actually I went on another date on Thursday, and it was with the guy that I went on a date with a couple of weeks ago that my friend was setting me up with. Now, I was going into it being like, this is very much a friend date. Like, this is not like a date because I'm not like into him like that. Like, we get on really, really well. But I'm just like not really into him like that. And I wasn't really sure where he stood with it. Now, turns out, figured out by the end, that he definitely does see it as like a date, which is fine, and I'll have that conversation because I know that, like, I'm really trying to be more upfront and honest with people. But it was crazy. It was so nice, like, just sitting down and yapping with an Irish person for a couple of hours and just talking about, like, you know, he's not from Dublin, but he lives in Dublin, and he knows kind of a lot of the same areas and people and stereotypes and, you know, that sort of general thing that I do. So it's just so enjoyable being able to have those chats with people again and saying like, oh my god, yeah, do you remember? Blah, blah, blah. It's just so good. But also, Ireland is such a tiny nation and we do so many huge things. So I, like, in the interest of like doing this episode, I was like, I want to look up some like really cool things about Ireland, because even in the last couple of years we have been kind of trailblazers a little bit when it comes to even some smaller things, or not smaller things, but some, you know, things in politics and things like that. So we need to shed some light on this, okay? So one of my absolutely favorite fun facts about Ireland that was like incredible is that we are the first country to legalize gay marriage by popular vote, which I think is an incredible feat in its own right, seeing as we are a notoriously religious Catholic country, and gay marriage has always been kind of frowned upon, I feel, in the Catholic religion and in the Christian religion. But I mean, like, we're not a perfect country, and Catholicism in its own right, especially in Ireland, is controversial. But I love the fact that we as a country are able to separate maybe religious beliefs or whatever to our own personal beliefs, and say, no, actually, this is what we want for our country, this is what we want for our people, we want to be progressive, we want to have all of these things. Another fun thing about Ireland is that in 2018 we also voted to repeal the 8th Amendment, which allows for women the choice to have an abortion. And actually, by quite an overwhelming vote of 66% yes, which was incredible. And that was also a vote that I was able to partake in, which I was very, very proud of. It was a very, very controversial topic in Ireland for years. I mean, this is like, well, maybe, I actually don't know, but like maybe as bad as when the divorce referendum came about, but this was incredibly controversial, and a lot of people trying to skew the facts of like what a yes vote would mean, because I mean, not to get into it right now, but I think a lot of people are forgetting the fact that we're not saying that we're in favor of abortion, it's more the fact that we're actually in favor of giving women the choice to have an abortion if they need so, and if medically that they need. In fact, I actually know of a couple of people that have had to have medical abortions because they physically couldn't carry a child, and imagine if they hadn't had that choice. And unfortunately, there was a case in Ireland which was kind of the epicenter of this entire referendum. Halapanavar, I can't remember her first name, basically the system failed her. She died because she couldn't carry her child, and the whole thing was like horrific. But I'm just so glad that now we are able to have that choice. I'm so grateful. I'm actually so grateful. Another amazing thing about Ireland is that we are one of the most pro-Palestine nations in the world, and we have become the first European Union member to call for a Palestinian statehood. Like, we are tiny. We are a tiny little nation, and we have such a big impact. And we pride ourselves on being, you know, a friend to all. And we see Palestine in peril, and we say, absolutely not. You're going to have our support, of course. And we would never, and the same with the Ukraine, that we've also been very publicly in support of the Ukraine as well. And I say that with pride, and especially off of the back of these recent Trump conversations that he had with Zelensky and Micheál Martin. I mean, absolutely ridiculous. Beyond that, though, I have a couple of other fun facts that I want to read out that I think are so interesting. So the first one is that there are approximately over 70 to 80 million people of Irish descent living outside of Ireland. Oh, I mean, not surprising. I'm not going to lie. I feel like we're everywhere. We're genuinely everywhere. I don't think you could go travelling anywhere and not find an Irish person or an Irish pub, genuinely. The number 2 is that the Great Famine, spanning from 1845 to 1852, it was only 7 years. Like, it is crazy. It was only 7 years, but it I suppose maybe the way that it was taught to us, it feels like that it was a much longer time than that, but it just had such an impact, a huge impact, because it tragically took about 1 million lives. Can we talk about the famine for a second, actually? Because I suppose when I was younger, I was always taught, you know, it's the Great Famine, the potato famine, like all of this. It was a blight that spread amongst potato crops. And that was such a treacherous thing. But actually, what I think they slightly forgot to tell us is that a potato blight would have been fine had the British not been taking the rest of our food. I think it was one of these things that actually potatoes were all that we had left to eat, because we were under British rule at the time, and all of our crops were being taken for British people, for the British Isles, and for anybody British that was living in Ireland. So potatoes were all that we had left, and that's why that this blight was so detrimental to us, and that's why so many people died or emigrated. Ireland is home to 2 nations. I mean, some people could argue that. So technically there is the Republic of Ireland and there is Northern Ireland. One of the really funny parts about going to an Irish school is that everybody is very patriotic, which is amazing, and I loved that, and quite nationalist, and I also would claim myself to be, but there's a political party in Ireland called Sinn Féin, who their premise, I suppose, is about wanting to have a united Ireland, which is great. I don't fully agree with all of their policies. They are quite controversial in their own right, especially because they had connections to this group in Ireland called the IRA, which stands for the Irish Republican Army. That was a prominent force in the 80s. And they were very big up, they were predominantly up in Northern Ireland, and they were bombing Belfast and Dublin, and it was a really difficult time. Now, I also just want to say the IRA, this was IRA point 2, because the original IRA was back in the 1920s. I digress. And there was also the IRB, which is the Irish Republican Brotherhood. Shout out to Moshta Lap, my history teacher, for getting me to remember that, because I was never good at history. And shout out to Aoife. So they had connections to the IRA, and with the IRA, a lot of people from my school are big Sinn Féin supporters, which is great. I suppose I am oblivious. I was never really big into politics, very oblivious, didn't fully cop this, and we would go around the school saying up the Ra, up the IRA, and I always thought that it was slightly ironic or slightly joking. I probably did know that there was some seriousness to it, and I think I was about 16 when I realised that we were not joking in the slightest, and I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I think maybe I need to be slightly more careful with who I like say this around or how seriously I say this, but anyways. Okay, next one is the longest place name in Ireland is I actually can't read this, guys. I can actually read it in Irish, so it's Muchanig Idir Gá Hála, which means pig marsh between two sea inlets. But the way that they've spelled it in English is kind of crazy. Much Anagaidir Dá Hália. Muchanig Dá Hália. Okay, Muchanach Idir Gá Hála. I can understand that. Pig marsh between two sea inlets. Interesting. Apparently it's in County Galway. Fantastic. Number 5 is that the Titanic was built in Belfast's Harland and Wolff docks. I mean, I knew that. I hope everybody else knows that. So yeah, the Titanic was built in Ireland. Is that a fun fact? Because, I mean, seeing as the Titanic... No, actually, it was the captain's fault. I mean, it wasn't our fault. No. And there is the big Titanic museum up in Belfast, which is very interesting. I urge everybody to go. And apparently there's a VR experience in London now, which also would be very interesting. Ireland doesn't have any snakes, and it's not because of St. Patrick. So this is one of the lores about St. Patrick, is that he banished all the snakes from Ireland. Which I actually don't think he did, seeing as there's a few snaky people around. No, I'm actually kidding. I don't really know snaky people, thankfully. I don't keep them in my life. Wait, I'm trying to see what this says about this. Okay, let me read this. So, legends say that St. Patrick, saviour of Ireland, I don't think he was, chased the snakes from the island of Ireland. But a more grounded explanation for one of the most famous facts about Ireland is that after the Ice Age, the land bridge connecting Ireland to Europe was submerged before the snakes could slither their way onto the Emerald Isle. That's so funny. There is one reptile species that is native to Ireland, however, the common lizard. I have never seen a lizard in Ireland. Are you joking? Number 7 is a real 4-leaf clover can only be from the white clover plant. Oh, right, okay. That's interesting. The 4th leaf can be found in 1 in 5,000 of its shamrocks. Oh, so they're typically shamrocks, but you can sometimes get a 4-leaf clover, and it's not clear where the good luck part originated. And number 8 is redheads only make up 10% of the Irish population. Thank you. Because everybody's like, oh, all of you redheads and frecklies and rah, rah, rah. And I'm like, yeah, I do have a tinge of red and I am freckly, but actually the typical Irish look is dark hair, blue eyes and pale skin. Actually. Number 9 is Irish stew is the national dish of Ireland and traditionally includes mutton, which is the meat of the adult sheep. Controversially, I really don't like stew. I really don't like stew. And it doesn't, not only do I not like it, it doesn't excite me. I'm like, oh, why would I want stew? That is the last thing that I would order on a menu. Number 10 is the lease for the Guinness Brewery was signed in 1759 for 9,000 years. Isn't that iconic? That's actually iconic. Also, low-key, I don't think Guinness originated in Ireland. I actually think it originated in London, but that's a whole other story. And I think there is actually a Guinness family TV show coming out soon, so maybe that'll clear things up for us, but that's a bit scandalous if it didn't originate in Ireland. Number 11 is due to Ireland's small population, many people historically had just one name. Oh, this is interesting, right? It says last names were first established in Ireland by adding O, grandson of, or Mach, son of, to their father's or grandfather's names. Let's talk about this for a second because I find this so interesting. So when you have all of these surnames like O'Malley or MacDonald, or I go by Nigool, so my surname is Doyle, but I go by Nigool. And I love explaining to people that the O and the Mach is just for boys, and it comes from the fact that it's of the family of or son of whatever. So if it's MacDonald, you're son of Donald. Maybe it's Donald. Maybe your dad's name was Donald, do you know? So you might have been I was going to say my brother. I don't really want to tell everybody who my brother is, but let's take a random name, let's say Mark MacDonald, but it's he doesn't have a surname. He's just Mark, who's Donald's son, right? Or he's from the Donald family. Isn't that, it's cool, right? Let's talk about my name for a second, because it is a little bit more scandalous. So my name, Nigool. Okay, let's break it down. So the first part is Ni, N-I, father. That's actually short for Ineen, which means daughter. So Ineen, Ni. And when you get married, the Ni changes to E, you, I, father, which is kind of like of as well, but it's like because you're married into this family as opposed to being like lineage, right? My other part of my surname, Dual, right? It is actually like I spell it the more old traditional way, which is Dhubbhgill, and people have shortened it to Dhuill, which probably makes more sense phonetically. My surname actually breaks down into two words, so Dove, Gall, which Dove is black, bear with me, Gall is foreigner or stranger. So I mean, if anybody's looking at me right now and you're like, but Quiva, you're the whitest person I've ever seen in my life. Well, obviously not currently with my fake tan, but yeah, I totally agree. I think it comes from like more of like a dark and mysterious stranger, if that makes sense. So I actually think it comes from the Vikings, where people were saying like, oh sure, that's your one who's, you know, the daughter of that, you know, dark, mysterious, tall, handsome man over there. Actually, no, that's kind of weird. But anyways, of that, you know, weirdo that just came into town. So, and because I've got kind of like frizzy, slightly curly, kind of gingery, freckly and all that, I think I come from the Vikings. So shout out to Dad for that one. Number 12 is Irish whiskey isn't the same as Scottish whiskey. I mean, obviously one's from Ireland, one's from Scotland. No, I'm kidding. So Scotch is composed with malted barley and water, while Irish whiskey is made of fermented corn, wheat and barley. Oh, interesting. Oh, plus Irish whiskey is distilled 3 times as opposed to both. They do say both are delicious in their own ways, however, because we don't hate on the Scots. 13. Legends say that the Blarney Stone can give you the gift of the gab. I've never seen the Blarney Stone. I low-key do forget that it's there, and you do go and you kiss the rock in hoping of win the gift of perfect speech. I'll tell you right now, that's obviously something for tourists, because no Irish person needs more gift of the gab, because we all flip and have it. 14 is that you can hear mermaids sing at the Cliffs of Moher. Oh, that's interesting. I've never been to the Cliffs of Moher, so I actually couldn't confirm or deny that one. But according to the tale, Mero, a mermaid who is said to dwell in the waters below the cliffs, can be heard singing on calm days, enchanting sailors and fishermen with her ethereal voice. That's very interesting. Very like Pirates of the Caribbean-esque. Like, I love that sort of stuff. 15 is that Ireland has the most Nobel Prize winners in literature per capita. Fantastic. So as it turns out, this pint-sized our island nation is a powerhouse in prose. So we've got George Bernard Shaw, William Butler Yeats, Samuel Beckett and Seamus Heaney are the 4 Nobel Prize winners in literature from Ireland. Gorge. Love this for us. Also great people. Number 16 is that one of the oldest operational lighthouses is in Ireland. Oh, it's the Hook Lighthouse. Oh, brilliant. Oh, that's very, very interesting. It's on the southeastern coast of Ireland. So it's off the coast of, southeastern, so off the coast of Cork, I think. I'm pretty sure that we've sailed out to see this lighthouse and we nearly got like drowned in the process, but hey ho, I'm still here. It was built in the 13th century by the knight William Marshall, and it still stands and acts as a beacon of safety and guidance for mariners against the beautiful backdrop of the Celtic Sea. Love that. Number 17. The biggest wave surfed in Ireland was 60 feet tall. Yeah, sure. I don't really know what that... I mean, yeah, interesting fact. Okay. 18. The national emblem of Ireland isn't a shamrock. Yeah, guys, come on, get with it. It's a harp. It's a harp, like you see on the Guinness, okay? And it appears on all of our coins. I literally have a euro coin here somewhere. But yeah, it's the harp. Interesting, huh? And that's all of our fun facts from the website. However, I actually am going to leave you with one more fun fact that is my fun fact as of late, which is I've been listening to a lot of Kneecap recently, which I urge you all to listen to because they're absolutely fantastic. And my favourite fun fact is that so in a lot of their music, like they reference this word called trícag, and there's a song called Trícag, which is actually my favourite Kneecap song, and I didn't really know what it was, and also I was like, oh, maybe it's a dialect thing, you know, maybe I'm whatever. So I looked it up and I went to Reddit, so good old Reddit, right? And they told me that trícag stands for trí consonant agus gutta, which means 3 consonants and a vowel. And it actually is MDMA. So because the word MDMA is 3 consonants and a vowel. And I was like, that is fantastic. But also trust the Irish language to turn MDMA into another grammar rule. So anyways, I'm going to leave you all there because that was a roller coaster. Thoroughly enjoyed it though. But I am now due to go off and drink some pints and enjoy myself and hopefully not be too hungover tomorrow. But I got to celebrate this national holiday in style because I won't be able to on Monday. Anyways, I love you all. Is brálam sibh the grá mór agam díobh and bheice mé sibh an seachtain seagan. I will see you next week. I love you. Goodbye. Slán agus sláinte.